You've probably noticed that the habit of exercising breaks down not on days when you have a lot of energy, but on days when you have no energy. You're tired, you've had a long day at work, or you're just in a bad mood. At times like these, your brain immediately looks for excuses. It won't work today. I'll definitely start again tomorrow. But tomorrow, the same thing happens again. And so the habit gradually falls apart. We give up exercise not because we don't need it, but because the system is too fragile. It can't withstand real life, where there is fatigue, illness, stress, and unpredictable circumstances. This is where the so-called assault versions of sports come in handy. These are light, minimal backup training options that can be done any day, even when you have no strength left. It's like a small bridge that keeps the habit from collapsing. You don't do the maximum, but you do the minimum. And it is this minimum that keeps the system working. Imagine a person who has decided to run 5 kilometers in the morning. The first few days go great. He is full of motivation and feels proud of himself. But then comes a morning when he hasn't slept well or it's raining outside. 5 kilometers in such weather is already a feat. And he decides, I'll skip today. The same thing happens tomorrow. A week later, the habit is gone. Now imagine another scenario. He has a quick version, just a 5-minute jog around the house, or even just putting on his sneakers and walking briskly around the neighborhood. It takes less than 10 minutes. It doesn't require heroism. And after that, he can calmly return home. But most importantly, the habit remains alive. He has preserved his identity as a person who exercises. These versions work because a habit is not about the amount of exercise, but about rhythm. It's not how many kilometers you've run or how many push-ups you've done that matters. What matters is that every day in your schedule, there is a small piece of time dedicated to sports. This piece becomes an anchor. It prevents your brain from switching to the mode, I'm not doing this anymore. In psychology, there is a concept called behavioral inertia. This is when it is easier to continue an action than to start over. If you have a chain, even of very modest actions, it is much easier to maintain. But if the chain is broken, it is much more difficult to start again. Storm versions are a tool for maintaining this inertia. Here's a simple example. One person decided to exercise for 30 minutes every day. But circumstances constantly arise in his life. Delays at work, meetings with friends, feeling unwell. And so he skips one day, then another. On the 3rd day, he feels guilty. On the 4th day, he thinks, okay, I'll start on Monday. And the habit dies. Another person says to himself, if I have no time or energy at all, I do the minimum, 10 squats and 10 push-ups, or 5 minutes of stretching. Yes, it's not much, but it keeps the habit alive. And the next day, they can return to a full workout without feeling guilty and without losing their rhythm. The most interesting thing is that often it is after the minimum version that the fatigue goes away. You start with 3 minutes of stretching and suddenly catch yourself thinking, I'll do a few more exercises. And so 3 minutes turn into 15. But even if not, even if there are only 3 minutes left, you've already won. You've preserved the system. Scientists who study habits note that the brain reacts much more to the very fact of repeating an action than to its scale. If you pick up your guitar every day and play at least one chord, your brain forms a connection. The guitar is part of my day. And gradually, it becomes automatic. The same goes for exercise. Even the smallest action sends a signal. Sports are part of my life. Ultimately, extreme sports teach us the most important thing. Strength isn't about perfect days. Strength is about keeping going, even on difficult days, even when you have no energy, even when you're short on time, even when you're feeling down. You can still take a step, even if it's minimal, even if it's ridiculous. But that's what saves the habit. When we think about sports, we often imagine a picture of heroism, training until we're sweating buckets, tough plans, kilometers of running. But a real system is not built on peak effort, but on regularity, on not stopping, on letting your body and brain understand sport is part of your life. And the brain doesn't distinguish between running 10 kilometers and doing 10 squats. What matters to it is the fact itself. I'm continuing. This is the invisible power of small steps. Remember how many people give up. They start with enthusiasm, with strict goals, with the idea of all or nothing. But life always makes adjustments, and then nothing wins. But those who have an assault version never end up empty-handed. They always retain at least part of the habit. And it is this part that, over time, grows into a sustainable system. This is the paradox of progress. It's not victory in a single day, but small victories, preserved day after day. Assault versions are a long-distance strategy. You don't have to be a hero today. You just have to keep up the pace. And one day, looking back, you will see not individual feats, but hundreds of small bricks that have formed a strong wall. This wall is your new identity. You are no longer the one who tries to exercise. You are a person for whom movement is a part of life. This is how confidence is born, not from big one-time victories, but from the small steps you took on days when it was hard. Today, you didn't have the strength, but you did 5 minutes of stretching. Tomorrow, you won't have time, but you'll do 10 squats. The day after tomorrow, you won't be in the mood, but you'll go outside and walk around the house. And it is these days that will become the foundation. They are more important than all the easy days when you were full of energy. Because habit is not about comfort. It's about consistency. It's about staying in the game. And if you remember one thing, let it be the thought that small steps save big dreams. Do the minimum today. Repeat tomorrow. And again. And one day, you'll realize that minimum has turned into the maximum in health, in strength, in a new life. And it all started with you not giving up on a difficult day.